Hi everyone, it's Tracy here from Art Fibre Stitch. We've been looking at using scraps that I gathered from my mother's bin, and I looked for green and blue strips. We're just catching you up, and I just joined them together. I've got a series of blues and greens on the top, and then down the bottom I decided to bring in some sandy colours, and that will be a beach scene in the end. So, making something from discarded bits and pieces, I really like it. Here's some, I'm going to call it a yarn, but really it's just loads and loads of threads. And here I'm using the sewing machine, and I have joined all of these strips up, overlapping them in places. You can see here, I haven't been very careful about it. I haven't mind rippling up, especially those light silk ones. But for those that like to see it ironed, here we go. That was it all in part one. And now part two, we're looking at cutting back. I want to expose some of those layers underneath. I want to see what we can create. Now, I know I've been rough and ready in this, but I'm learning a new technique here that I feel that I could use in other things. So I don't mind playing, and I find some of my best things by just playing and not getting too worked up about doing it properly. Just having a go. So I've got some very sharp little scissors here, and I'm cutting into that sandy coloured fabric. Can you see that it's exposing some of the blue that's behind? I want it to look like as the ocean's coming through, it's leaving little bits of water showing on the sand. I'm just splitting it up. I'm making it sort of lacy looking, this edge. I think this kind of technique can be used for a lot of things here, and that's what I'm going to be experimenting with. See, here's that silky layer, and I really made sure when I stitched it down that I left loads of space in there. I mean, it's I can pleat it, I can put a tuck in it, I can move it around very easily because it's not flat. I have several layers underneath it of different colours. Right now I'm exposing some of that green, and that will make the lighter colour that we're cutting now appear like froth on the top, perhaps. And it's through doing this that I'm getting ideas. I don't know when I'll stop. Sometimes I'm just cutting back to where I did the wavy lines. You'll notice that all of the lines that I did on the sewing machine were all wavy. They were just held things down, but in a curvy kind of way, like the ocean would be. There would be no straight lines unless it was the horizon. But doing this is a very slow kind of creative process. It's going with the flow, seeing what happens, where it's going to lead me, letting it tell its own story. Sometimes I'm cutting to expose the layer underneath. Sometimes I'm cutting deeper, and I'm cutting through 2 layers and exposing a gap underneath. What can I do with it? Well, this is another idea. See, up here I have nothing underneath, so when I'm cutting these bits out, and we can hardly see what I'm doing here, it's going to be useful though, but I can't see it. So I'm trying another fabric underneath. Can't see that very much either. It's too close in colour. I'm going to try this very light green. Now I can see. You see the holes there now. So it doesn't need to be done straight away, like when I've joined all of these up. Later on I can decide, oh, I'll put something behind it. And that's what I'm going to use there, a nice light blue. Just picking up a little bit more colour in that darker area of the ocean. So I'm going to start with some stitching now. Got some nice shiny blue thread here. So I'm just going to pull some out, and maybe we'll couch down some of this, what I'm calling a yarn, but it's really just a whole bunch of discarded threads. See? But I liked the colour range. It was virtually the right colour anyway. There was a little bit of orange or something in there that I just picked that one strand out. And can you see that it would be adding that third dimension? We've cut some things away, but we're also putting some things on the top. We're making it very highly textural. So I'll thread my needle and I'll do a knot, and then I'll start. And as I'm stitching, I am going through that yarn made from all of those threads to make sure that it's staying where I want it. I can stitch through it like this. I can couch it on and stitch from side to side over it. But at the moment, I just want it to stay where I want it whilst I'm thinking. So I don't mind doing a running stitch here through to one side whilst I'm planning. And then I'll turn around and I'll come back with whatever's left on my needle. I just keep going until I'm done. As I'm going, you might notice on those bits that are the silk, the pale blue and green that I've cut out, it's the one that's very, very loose. So here's where I can add a tuck, or I can push it up or down and create ripples in it, adding even more dimension. So I'm thinking here, I can do that same thing like we did above. I'm going to get this nice dark reddish brown out, and I'm going to cut out some more little pieces here. And I'm going to make sure I go right through to the back this time and cut out holes that aren't showing a layer underneath, are just going to be holes, so that when I do put a fabric under it, and using this brown, now I can see that it's going to make little rocks on my beach. So the experimentation, especially when you're playing with something that was discarded anyway, the rubbish. Look at that. That's something else that was in the bin. That's a little bit of wadding or pelon. I think that would make excellent froth on a wave. And I could couch that down. I'll be doing that. I can easily use that and it fits in perfectly. I also found a little tiny strip of fabric that was cut off something, and I thought, oh, I could use that. It was similar to what I did in the previous project, where I had little streamers coming out of a pocket. Those same tiny little bits of long strips I can use to couch on as if they were a yarn. Here you can see some of the stitching that I've done, and I've even done a few little French knots here and there. This could take a lot more stitching. It's a project that you could just keep adding to. But I think you're all getting the idea now of the kind of things that I'm talking about. Here's that little strip I was just talking about. And that added in there, just adds a bit more depth. And I'm using something else that was going to be discarded. Yeah, so the creativity involved in making something from nothing, it almost sort of frees you because you're not worried about wasting things. You know, oh, I bought a very expensive fabric and I don't want to cut into it. You don't have any of that kind of thing. You have the feeling of being able to use anything in the bin that you like because it's already destined for the rubbish. But look at what we're creating. It really is a beautiful little piece. And I think it's given me ideas for what I might be able to use it for in the future. Sometimes I think that these kind of projects allow you to perfect something. Like this cutting back, I've used it a little bit with shears and things, but you know, I can imagine, for example, a butterfly's wing and cutting bits back in you know, the black wing to expose the pretty bits of colour underneath. Something like that could work. I've used it before for leaves on trees. So even the tiniest scrap is useful. I'm going to make a few more rocks here, ready for my brown fabric there. And it'll really show up then. And I'm just about done, I think. Let's have a look, and you can maybe pick up some of these details I've been talking about. It looks pretty good. I like the idea. Here's some pictures to finish off, give you a better understanding of how it's come together. I hope you've liked this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you have. We'll do something completely different next time. Thanks for watching.